Good afternoon. I struck out at trying to catch you in your office, so I'll let technology reign here, and hopefully you can listen to this while you're enjoying a glass of wine, maybe. Whether we like it or not, for college entrance and for so many competitive vocational programs, it's all about the ACT. So I decided once again to use the ACT English subtest score for my SLO. As long as there's so much emphasis placed on that one test. And since my students experienced success last year, I thought it was important to track the data for at least another year. I am addressing two of the ELA strands that deal with the command of the conventions of grammar, usage, capitalization, and punctuation. I'm working with 22 honors kids this year who, as of October 1st, none had taken the official ACT. My benchmark last year was the ACT plan test score that all of the honors kids took their sophomore year. This year's juniors are the first honors group in as long as I've been teaching here that did not take the ACT plan test. I was not aware that that was no longer an option for them last year, or that the decision had been made to eliminate that test. That's a big concern for me. My students did take an ACT English subtest in late September as a benchmark. Then all juniors did the ACT practice test, the full-length practice test, in early October. A couple of them took the national exam, and several will take the December exam. So we will do another mid-year English subtest in early December. I think we'll do it before the 16th, probably the first week of December. So next week sometime, or probably the week after, as soon as we're done with Gadsby. By April last year, all of my honors kids had taken the official ACT at least once. This is the document that I'm using to track their progress. I have a hard copy in my teacher binder. So I don't have this column anymore, but I do have the ACT practice English subtest score that we did. I have the ACT practice test score for the October 7th test, the full-length test, and several of them also did, several of these kids also have taken it for real now, so we'll have a real October test score to use as well. Move that over here again. Let's see. Looking at growth goals, which is down here a little bit, kind of scares me for this group. Our ACT average on the English subtest score for this past year, 2015, was 23.7, and our composite was 23.8. That 23.7 is the highest English subtest score that my students have ever recorded. And I'm sure you're aware that our 2015 results put us behind only, these were from the state website, put us behind only Brandon, which had the highest score in the state with 24.54, Agar, 24.2, Frederick scored 24.8, and then Canton was 23.9. Those were the top four, and ours came in at 23.8. Testing, Brandon tests a lot of students, but we tested far more than the three other schools. So I think this is probably a horn we need to toot a little louder, because when I shared this with my own colleagues recently, many of them were not aware that our scores were this good, that put us in the top 5 in the state. So that's something that I think as a district we probably need to do a better job of sharing that data. However, this new group's early scores are significantly lower than where my group started last year. So I think it's really important that one of our high school goals this year focuses on achievement, and specifically on the ACT. I continue to focus on one aspect of mechanics usage grammar each week and use ACT mini passages for review. Kim Graff and I have done a lot of visiting about the ACT, and we have several concerns or ideas that we want you to be aware of, and probably that we should share with um, the teacher group that was assigned to that specific goal. Um, First is the fact, again, that we didn't offer the ACT plan test to this group of juniors, or anything to replace it last year. I do believe Amy is planning to do the ACT Inspire, offer that this year. We'd really like the school to find a way to fund that test, especially for college-bound kids. The more opportunities that we can give kids to practice in that timed setting, the better. Um, the decision this year was apparently also made not to require our juniors to take the ASVAB. We have given that test to all juniors at West Central for at least 20 years, again, because it's another opportunity for a timed test. It has an incredible career piece, which we could do in other ways, but it has that prediction scale that matches their performance on the ASVAB to an expected ACT. And just that kick in the pants in December helps some kids realize they really need to step it up. Um, so, despite Amy coming into my classroom to talk about the ACT, my emailing students, talking to them myself about the importance of taking advantage of every opportunity they have to practice in a timed setting for the ACT, only 35 of almost 90 juniors will be taking the ASVAB in early December. Um, I'm going to try another mass email to parents about this opportunity, excuse me, so at least they're aware that so few of our juniors committed to taking the test. So there really were two golden opportunities that our juniors have had in the past that we have taken away from this group of juniors to practice for the ACT. Um, then another situation that we believe is possibly going to have a negative impact on our scores this year is that really for 10 or more years that we've offered the ACT prep class, we've always offered a second semester ACT prep. This year we only offered it first semester, and I know just because of how the schedule worked out that that's how it happened. But kids are really not prepared to practice the math and science in an ACT prep class first semester because they've not been introduced to many of the concepts. That second semester ACT prep class is so much more meaningful and relevant because by the time students would get to the math and science prep in that class, they would have had the math and science instruction from September through about March. So if we're committed to keeping those scores up, that's another thing that really has to change. If ACT is going to be, or improvement on the score is going to be a school-wide goal, we really want to spread that love. That was something else Kim and I talked about. We feel like we really need to have a math science person co-teaching that ACT prep review class for those subjects. Kim and I talked about assigning one English person and then maybe one math science person and splitting the students into two groups. So the two teachers would each have a group for maybe one quarter, and they teach their content area and then switch groups of students at quarter time. Um, we're thinking that would be a really, really great idea for next year, and then doing that both semesters. I'm still relatively confident that the honors group that I have this year can meet my SLO benchmark, but I guess my biggest concern is just the overall lack of motivation, lack of concern, the work ethic of this group of juniors. Sadly, many of the honors kids included, very few of them signed up to take the ASVAB, despite my talking to them about the importance of preparation. And then add that to the fact that these kids did not take the ACT plan test. Again, most of them not doing the ASVAB test, and they didn't have that opportunity to take a semester-long ACT prep course second semester. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm really afraid our scores may show that this year. So it's really great that this is something we're talking about in terms of school-wide goals, because I do believe that there are simple steps we can take to address many of these concerns. and not that we just can take, but that we have to take. If ACT scores and academic achievement is going to continue to be one of our goals. So we can do it, and we'll all work together to make sure that it gets done.